Hello again, Steve here, back in my shed. Today I'm sponsored by Red Bull. No, I'm not. Could you imagine if I was? Extreme soldering. No, today I've got a Nintendo DSi XL. This belongs to a friend of mine. He gave it to another friend to try and repair the charge port, but it's missing, so he gave up on it. So I don't know what sort of state I'm going to find in there. Never done one before, I don't own one. My kids have got a small one, the DS Lite, which I thought might help me, you know, if there's any trace damage in there or anything, just to have a look. But they're a completely different charger, so that won't help at all. So I'll get it onto the mat, get it open, and we'll have a look, see what sort of damage there is. Right, first thing first is we'll take the battery out. Battery seems a little swollen to me. I think that might need replacing. I was expecting to see tri-ring screws in here, but they're all crosshead. Okay, so there's two push-on connectors there. 1, 2. And just popped off. And I'm getting my first look now at the charge port area. And that looks a bit of a mess. That's young. Anything there? Nothing there. That'll be alright. That pad has lifted. Again, that will be alright. It's only for strength. I think that's lifted. I'll clean that up. There's a screw missing there. It is suddenly not looking quite so easy. Well, I'll finish stripping it down, get the board out, and then we'll try and clean it up and see what's what around that area. Right, so what I know so far is that the earth is good. So if I probe in continuity mode here to here, that's fine. There it's still connected, there, even through there, just about, and there. So the other connection is going to be the VCC, which is here. So I just need to find where this goes to next. So I would have thought it would go to this fuse here. Test point 2 goes to the VIA. Right, so that's in test point 2, and now if I can find that fuse, it's not connected there, but it is connected there, so it's connected to that point there, so I could run a wire from there to there. That should create the connection back. So I've soldered a wire to test point 2, and then I've wrapped the other end around that probe, so now anywhere there's a connection should come up when I just use this probe. So there is a connection on the fuse, and not on there. Right, so the next little obstacle is that this connector, these are actually for this board, the two front legs which go to the outside of the board do fit in the right place, they fit there, so they line up with these two holes here, but these back legs don't belong on this board. It's quite awkward to show, but I'll try. Two gold legs, these ones here do line up with these two holes, which is the ground and the VCC, and then there's a further two legs here and here which just don't line up with anything on this board. So I could order the proper part, which wouldn't take too long to do, but again I might end up with these, because these, the bag does say DSi XL, and this is a DSi XL. If I start by gently teasing these up out of the way, so I have spent them there. There's a nice little bit of spring in them, so they will sit on the board flat, and then obviously the ground one I can solder, and this one I should then, I might even be able to do directly onto the fuse when it's on the board. Find out. What I'll do now is take these two outer legs off. One. So I'm trying to get as flush as I can to the body of the connector, and I'm moving it away to cut it so that I don't get any flying metal landing on the board. So I'm happy now, those legs are flush with the body. Okay, so that sits on quite nicely. It does seem to be nice and flush. It will be then nice and flush. And then the two connections are, this one's earth, this first one, and this one's the VCC. and this is the fuse that I need to connect that one up to. So if I take that off and put a small wire on to there, I can then take this one off completely flush with the board and solder it direct to the pad on the board. So that's what I'm going to try and do next. First of all, I'll solder these into place so that it's not slipping around when I'm trying to work. One thing I don't know now is if that goes sticky out, halfway out, or at the bottom. And I've got nothing to compare it with except the DSi. So I have now cut this one flush so that when the connector's pressed onto the board, it is just touching the pad that it's got to be soldered to. I've pulled it across a bit to come to the fuse, so I think if I cut it off here now, it's going to be clear of this connector. If I put it there, then I can easily bridge across there with an enamel wire or even a piece of solder. So I think what I'll do is cut that now, then solder this into place, and then look at making these connections good. But I think we're more or less there. Just below the crease. It will require a wire because on this there's a bit of a big gap to be bridging. I'll need the light back. I think what I'll do now is solder it in place because I don't think the solder bulb's going to do that, it's too big. I'm going to have to get a bodge wire in place. You'll see the tiniest amount of copper there. I'm going to test, see if that's connected to that. If it is, that's the first pretty good look I've had. Side of the fuse. Definitely is. So I think what I can do now is actually scrape this back a little bit. And I think then I can solder directly. I think I can. It's in place, so I'm just going to try and get a little small amount of solder there to hold it. Ow, 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 that's hot. Okay, that was really awkward to do on camera. On the through holes, I've just put very small solder tacks to make sure it's in place, because that'll make it easier to fully solder it on. And I think before I put all the soldering on, I'm going to tack those, well, solder those connections and see if it actually works. The flux, putting a tripod up here with my light on. I've melted my actual soldering station because this fell out of the holder. I do apologise if my big bunch gets in the way. I think that made the connection. And this one. Trying to cause a bridge, so probably best not to use flux here, but the flux is on there already. No, I can't get it soldered on there. So I've got a piece of 0.1mm enamelled wire. Okay, it ain't pretty, but it's made a connection from the top there to the other side of the fuse. Okay, I'll now get much solder on here because these are the only anchor points we've got left. Get some nice flux on here now. I'll give it a nice clean and then start putting it back together. That's really annoying. I've lost a foot. I've looked all over my bench. I've been on the floor. Nobody wants to go on that floor, but it's not there. I've been so careful today not to knock anything. And it's gone, just disappeared. This is not an ideal solution at all. There, it's the best I've got right now. And that's to jam a piece of hot glue in there. Just melt it into position so that it's just proud of the surface. And hopefully that'll give it a bit of protection. If it needs to come out again, it'll come out easy with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. So I'm just going to try and gently melt this into place without melting the case. Looks about right. So let's plug it in and see what happens. I take it that's a good sign. Still not sure about that battery. I noticed it's not an original battery, so it could well be time to swap it out for another one. Let me get a game out of this. Oh, it's gonna. Might. Not because of that, surely. Right, because I can't do anything without one, I think I'm going to order up one of these batteries. It needs a new one anyway. I'll get one of them ordered and I'll come back to this in a few days. I'm hoping that it is just the battery. We'll see. If I have to put another connector on, I have to put another connector on. But we'll have a look at that when the battery's here. So, obviously I'll be back in a sec. And just like that, the weekend is done. It's now Monday. The battery has arrived. It's here. Actually came with a second one, which I guess was a mistake. So now all that's left to do is pop this in, see if it works, try and give it a charge, test it with a game, and then we can move on. So I'll grab a screwdriver, get the battery cover off, put the new battery in. Put the screwdriver away. And hopefully that's the end of that video. Let's see. Go in there. I won't plug it into the charger just yet. Let's find the game and switch it on. Nothing. Charge light flashing, does that mean the battery is absolutely dead? Stop flashing. I'll just look up the error message for flashing charger light. Okay, if the orange light is blinking, then it's likely that the battery is not installed properly. Properly inserting the battery should resolve the issue. Do it again that way. Okay, so no battery blinks. Put the battery in. And it blinks. I'm pushing down to make a good contact on the battery now, so I'm pushing it, applying a force that way so that it pushes more onto the contacts. That's blinking normal, pushing down, and it's holding steady. And that's powering on. That's good, except it's not good. So it could be a couple of things. It could be a manufacturing fault with the battery. I can possibly wedge something in the bottom there just to create pressure coming down. What I will do is get my picks out in a minute and just try to tease these out a little bit. But first, I'm going to take my free battery which I was going to give it away anyway. I'm not likely to go out and buy a DS with a faulty battery. So I'll pop this one in and just hold it normally. No, it doesn't like that one either. push down, it's fine. As soon as the pressure going downwards is off, it's blinking again. So the first thing I'm going to try is getting nice and close, and I'll try and just tease these out just to try and exert a bit more pressure on the actual battery contact. No, it still doesn't like that. What I've got here is just a little bit of blue tack, and I don't think I'm going to need that much. So just a very small amount. I'm just going to put on the back here, put the battery in, and then squeeze it, and then hopefully, when the back's taken off again, it will come out quite easy. So I should think that that will push it down enough. Yep. Oop. Yep. Touch screen's working. Volume's working. And the top screen also. Right, so we'll give that back. Okay, so I think we can get that back. We'll just advise to be a bit careful putting this in and out, because it has lost two of its anchor points. I have given it a decent amount of solder to keep it attached to the board, but still, it's never going to be as strong as it was originally. And then if that fake battery decides to expand, there's another fake battery there to replace it at a later date. So that's all good. So that's all for now. Thank you for joining my shed. Next time I've got something interesting to fix, I'll be sure to record it. Hopefully, won't be too far in the future. So take care now. See you soon.